Hello and welcome to another sailing performance video. Today we're going to be discussing SailReports. So SailReports is the sailing performance tool that allows you to create a sail report and then upload that to the web. So then you have a web report, and a web report is something that will show all the data for the whole team to be able to view. And it's a very nice way of displaying the data and being able to share amongst the team. So today it's going to be a bit of a longer video because there's quite a lot to cover. We're going to go over the integration with Race Replay and SailReports and how to use the two of them correctly. Something to note is that pretty much everything we're going to do today in Race Replay, you can also use Perf Query to grab the same features. So let's crack on. So here we have our SailReports open. We're just going to give you a quick rundown on how the basics of it works. So it's very similar to the number boxes within Race Replay. We can see here that we have our basic tabs across the top, some cells, and we can right click to add a new tab, column, row, or cell. And it's fairly simple. You know, we can just go column. We want to add a column to the left, column in. Then we could delete the column we just added. So that's fairly simple. You can then expand your cells across a couple if you want to do that. We can then add a new tab. And we tell it how many rows we want, how many columns we want, what the cell type is, and we'll go over what the cell type is shortly and what the cell labels are. You can also add any comments. You might know what that tab's going to be about, but you can also add the comments later as well, and I'll show you how to do that. So click OK, and there we go. It adds the new tab. So we're just going to get rid of this tab so we don't end up with too many to start with. And so we also have some options within each individual cell. So we have our row labels. Now our row labels allow us to create a label for everything across this row, and then it allows you to minimize all the rows within the sail report. So a sail report, just so you understand what the end product looks like, is something like this. And we might have our upwind performance, and we can minimize our rows. So when we put a row label in, it appears here so that we can have all these minimized so that you're not taking up too much screen space, and then you can just have a look at the graphs that are relevant. There's going to be a full demo, as I said, on these web reports in the next video we put out. So if we go back to our sail reports here now, that's what the row label is. The little magnifying glass just allows you to open the cell, and then you can flick through the different cells you might have. We then have our option here to tell it that we want it to be a minimum height or a maximum height on the web report, which is quite handy when you have a fairly big graph. You might want to tell it to make sure it's big enough so it's easy to view. We have the option here to update this cell on the online report. So if you make a change to your report, you don't have to redo everything. You can just change that one cell. It's really handy. I use that a lot. Then we have here our cell types. So we have here none, which just means it's a blank cell. We can set up file downloads, HTML. So the HTML will allow you to copy and paste from Excel. I'll show you how to do that. It also allows you to copy and paste the polars. We'll run through all that. Images, so it's just upload a photo or a copy of something from Race Replay. We have JSON graphs, which is your XY graphs, time graphs, all that sort of thing. JSON charts, which are your charts from within Race Replay. Straight text. And web video. So you might have a YouTube link of your drone footage from the day or something like that you want to add to the report. So that's all the basics of how this works. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just tidy up this first tab. We're just going to get rid of this column here. And we're going to have just a couple of rows here. And this column here we're going to rename. Or sorry, this tab we're going to rename. We're going to call it track. So in here we're just going to put our track down for our first day of sailing. So we can see here we have our, we're going to go and create our race 3 leg 1 track. So we can see this is that here. We're just going to copy the JSON, this feature here is copy the JSON chart. So that will copy all the data points from that leg. We can tell it what variables we want. Now, the variables one is quite an interesting setup. So you can have as many variables as you want that will allow it to be able to view within the web report. What these tick boxes here is force these variables to be displayed on the opening screen. Now there's only a maximum number that you can have forced. So it's up to you as when you're writing a web report what you want initially to be seen. And we'll just quickly go into this just so you can understand what I'm saying here. So you can see here we have 8 number boxes. So that allows us to tick 8 options here, and those are the number boxes that will be shown. We can tell it whether we want to show the date, time, timers, all that sort of thing. Then we have here, we can export our events, tracks, jibes, annotations if you have any in there, so on and so on. All these screens, as everything with Race Replay, can be saved as a preset, so you can copy, load, and create all your presets. So we have our output frequency. Now this is important if you're doing an offshore race. You might want to make it 10 seconds or a little bit longer so that there's not too many data points in the web report. So you've got to remember that it's trying to upload everything from a server. So if you have too many data points, then it's going to take a long time for the chart to load. You might want to display the timer relative to your start time if you're using the timer, and that's something handy to know. So you might change that to the date and the start time. And then if you have this variable here as timer, it'll give you a count up. So 0 being the start, and then so on and so on. So we just click copy to JSON clipboard. We come back to our web report, and we're going to make this a JSON graph, and we click paste. Simple as that. So that will now put the track into the web report. It gives you just a quick overview so you don't lose what you've done. So because you might now want to do leg 2, for instance. So we can close that. We can then open up our leg 2, and we can copy that. And all our settings we know are set, so we can just copy that to our clipboard, set this as chart, paste, job done. One of the sort of really nice other features that I use a lot is in our XY graphs. So if we open up our XY graphs here, we have our presets all set up. So we might have our boat speed versus true wind speed, and we just need to clear our filter on our phases, so we get some phases in, and we just want to filter these now for upwind. So we can see here that we have our XY graph with our boat speed versus true wind speed. So there's a new feature which we covered in which has been covered in another video, but we have here now the option to add polar lines into our XY graph. So that's a new feature. So what that means is it allows you to create a bunch of presets to then put into your web reports. So rather than using the traditional VMG graphs, which look like this, you can now create your own, the exact same graphs, boat speed, true wind angle, and VMG versus true wind speed. You could create these into XY graphs, because then you can add here web reports and auto generate a tab. And so what we're going to create here is a VMG tab. So we're going to do upwind, we're going to do 3 rows across, and then we can open up our preset XY graphs. So we're going to add all these in, and then we're just going to do 1 row just to keep this really simple for this demo. So we've got all this, and again you can create a preset, load presets. We're going to copy that to our clipboard. So that's now copied. So we can come back to our web report. We can go into tabs, and we can go import from clipboard as a new tab. So we can tell it where we want to insert that. So we're going to go insert at the top, and we're going to do it after track. Click OK, and there we go. So that is now our VMG graphs. And then you might have another row below here, which you could actually add straight from Race Replay, but I haven't got the presets set up. But you could have another row below, which is your rudder angle, your heel angles, things like that. And so it will all copy across into here. And you might have here VMG, so that this row is all your VMG stuff. Your next row might be all your rudder or heel and trim and things like that. So it's very flexible on how you want to add things to it. So for our next tab, generally I'll do a downwind VMG, but I'm not going to worry about that for this demo. We're just going to now add a new tab, and our next tab we're going to call polar. This one's just going to have 2 columns and 1 row. And it's going to have, it's actually going to have a HTML and a JSON graph. So we're just going to add 2 like this. This one will be HTML, and this one will be JSON graph. Although polar might be JSON chart. We'll see in a sec. So we just open up our graphs, and we're going to add our polar manager here. So we can now copy this table as HTML. We can paste that into here. Now it's going to look a little bit funny here, but when you upload this to the web, it will be correct. Then we can add we'll go back to Race Replay, and we can grab our polar. So we can just copy our polar across as a JSON chart, and then paste that in. So that's now there. Now, one of the things with the way the web reports displays something that's quite tall and long like this is it can be quite condensed. So this is the perfect place where you'll now add the minimum height. So you might change it to 800 pixels. The only way to really see this is once you've uploaded everything to your web report is to quickly view it. And then you might want to make some changes to how many pixels this is forced, and that's where this upload button becomes really handy, because you might change it to say 600 pixels, hit the update button, view it back on your web report. Oh yeah, that looks great, cool, happy days. So we're now going to add another tab, which we're going to call loads, and this one is going to be just a straight HTML one. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our report here that we have, which is our loads report from the day, and I'm just going to give it a quick little tidy up. Now, so we've changed the column size here. We just need to tidy up that phases a little bit here, so that's all good. Now we're going to copy and paste this. Okay. Now I've intentionally done this wrong to show you what happens. So we're going to click paste, and see it comes up with this error. What that means is that you haven't saved the Excel. So after you make a change to an Excel, you need to make sure you hit save. So we hit save here now. Now we copy it again back to our web report, paste it in there, and we don't get that error anymore. So you can do this with any Excel sheets or any HTML. We then might add, we're now going to add another tab. We're going to call this one downloads. And in our downloads tab, we're going to just quickly change all these to file download. I should have done it in the previous screen when I added it, but I didn't. So we've now got all the here, we've now got all our download options. So we're going to add all our reports in. So we'll put our bin report in, put our calibration report in, put the loads report in. And what this allows you to do is allow the crew to download the full reports. So rather than just having a quick little demo of a report here for the loads, and maybe you've put your calibration report in there, they can now go and download everything, so that they can have a look through the whole report, so they can see all this data. So we've got those in. Now, one of the things I really like to do is I'll go into File, and I'll go Save Report to Word Document, and it's just telling us that there's something missing from this tab, but that's okay. And we're going to just call this project My Boat, and it's a regatta. And if you're connected to the web report and you've done previous stuff, you can click from report, but we're not connected right now. We'll click OK, and we're going to save this, and it'll open up in a second. So here it is now, and you can see here that it gives you all the graphs in PDF view. So it's a quick way of just creating a quick Word document. To show you might want to, like, if you might want to have a PDF document that you can print out and circulate amongst some crew, if crew aren't wanting to view it on the web report. The web report is much better, and you'll see that when we do the demo, but it's just another way of presenting your data. So we could convert that into a PDF, or we could just put a straight Word document in there, and we can then put the whole thing in. So once we've finished our report, we just go upload to web. We connect to our web report, and then we just click. So we're connected. We've got our demo boat. We've got our sample regatta. We might need to create a new regatta because it's the first day of the regatta. So we've got all that there. We can then go File, Upload to Web Report, So everything's all correct. Click OK. And this is now uploaded into the web report. So we can now see how this is all uploaded. So we can see all our graphs here, our track, and our loads. And then we can see our downloads, and if we click on one of these, it will download to our computer. So that's how that all works. That's how it will all look after you've done it. One of the things you need to be wary of is when you have a graph with lots of data points, an offshore race will be a good example, is that you need to downsample your data points. So in here, in Tools Phases, we have a downsampling option. So the downsampling is a bunch of phases. So we might want to, so if we've done a graph via sales, we're going to use our downsampling by sales option, and then how much we want to downsample it by. You can just put every phase in there. That's not an issue. But the issue with doing that is that your web report will take a long time to load, similar to the track. You know, if there's too much data, it just takes a long time to load. So the downsampling basically will look at the phases, and it will make the phase amount smaller effectively. It will tell you here, you know, how many phases you had and how many are remaining. It's something that when you've got lots of data points, you need to do. So that sort of concludes the basic demo on the SailReports. As always, if you have any further questions, you can ping us an email and we can help you through them. Like I said, there'll be a further video coming out which goes through the web reports and shows a lot, goes a bit more into detail on what those web reports are and the features with the web reports. So keep an eye out for that video as well.